Welcome back to Life Enrichment with Hank Ballinger. Today we want to talk about rob a bank or ask for a loan. I'll leave that up to you which one you choose, but I think if you'll think just for a second or two, the latter seems to be the more logical. Before we get into that today, again, want to say thank you to those who watch the channel, who subscribe, who share it with others, put it on Facebook, whatever. We greatly appreciate all your efforts. It helps us to get out the idea that anybody could build wealth, and that's what we want to do. We want to help people get out of the rat race, the day-to-day grind, and build wealth and make life what they want it to be, not just what it just seems to be forced upon them. So that's our goal. If you can help us with that, we would greatly appreciate it. Now, about 13 videos ago, I had a video entitled How to Get a Loan. So this is just a little bit of a different spin from that video. Now, again, that video specifically talked about how to get a loan. This one's how to get a loan. But why is that so important? I try to teach people how to build wealth specifically in real estate. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, and maybe some of these days before too long we'll go over a video on just why you need to get into real estate. It's very important. About 90%, if you ask John D. Rockefeller, Aristotle Onassis, a lot of the very wealthy people in the 20th century, they will tell you that about 90% of the people that's going to build wealth either build or maintain their wealth in real estate. Very important that you get involved in real estate. So getting a loan is very important in that process. You are not going to build a portfolio of real estate if when you go to the bank, they won't give you a loan. Very important that you understand the concept and what you need to do to look good when you go to the bank to get a loan. So let's look at a few guys. Maybe you know these first two names, Babyface Nelson or John Dillinger. Now, these guys were outlaws in the early 1900s and mid 1900s. And I think if you'll go back and do just a little study in history, you'll see they didn't do so well. Yeah, they robbed banks, made off with some cash, but they came to a horrible end at a very young age. So I think if we look at the two, that's not the direction we want to go if we want to build wealth. Now, let me ask you this question. Why would you rob a bank when the bank itself wants to give you money? It is not logical. Not logical at all. Do not try to rob a bank when you can just go in and ask them for the money. They will give it to you. And here's something that's even more important and more ironic. The more times you do that and the more money you borrow from the bank, the more that they're going to want to see you come through those front doors. They're going to say, hey, yeah, come over here and have a seat. Yeah, you want a drink of water? Could we get you a coffee, a soda? You know, what would you like? We'll make it as pleasant as possible on you because we want to loan you money. Now, you're going to pay that money back with interest, but again, that's going to come from the income-producing real estate that you buy. So it's very important that we realize if we're going to ask for a loan, we need to be prepared when we go to get that loan. Now, a lot of people have a fear about going to a bank and asking them for money. Now, it can be very discouraging, or it can be very scary the first time or first few times that you go. But you really need to build a good relationship with these bankers. Again, remember, they want to give you money. And I use this illustration all the time. There are about 8 billion people on this planet. And if you walk in and tell them you want to borrow money, out of those $8 billion, you are the one they want to talk to. So it's very important to realize you're a little bit in the driver's seat. Now, yeah, if they're going to give you 80% of the loan, they do got to get to be in the driver's seat quite a bit. You may be on the passenger side quite a bit of the time when they say, well, it's going to be this interest rate, or it's going to be this many years amortization. They may get to call some of those shots, but it's kind of fair since they're giving you 80% of the loan, especially when you're starting out and you don't have a lot of experience or you don't have a lot of debt. But the more debt you get with them, the more you kind of get in that driver's seat a little bit. But just realize, whether you're in the driver's seat or the passenger seat, at least you're in the car. That's very important. Now, don't be afraid to ask a bank for money. Let me tell you why. The absolute worst thing that they can tell you is no. Then what you do is you go to another bank down the road and you ask them. And if they tell you no, you keep on going till you find a bank that gives you that loan. I was one time turned down by 8 different banks on the same loan, the same property I tried to get, turned down by 8 banks before we finally found a bank that would give us that loan. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged. You can do it, and there's a bank out there that will probably make you that loan. Now, you may have to tweak the way you're trying to get it, but you can get that loan. They want to give you the loan. Banks want to make good loans. They don't want to just give money to somebody that's probably not going to pay them back. That's a bad loan. So let's look at that. Okay, not only do you want to get loans because you want to build a portfolio of property, of real estate. Very important that you get real estate. So if you're going to get that real estate and you're wanting to use 80% of the bank's money, then you kind of got to appeal to them. So let's look at that just a bit. First of all, when you go to a bank, you want to make sure you have a good credit history. Meaning, when they look at your past and they're going to pull your credit scores and they're going to look at your credit history, and if you've not paid a bunch of bills, if you've not paid credit cards, if you've not paid payments on your house or your cars, they're going to know that, and they're going to look at you as a very risky loan. Probably not going to get the loan. So they're going to look at your credit history. Very important that you make sure that you have a good credit history. Now, what if you don't have a good credit history? Now, one thing you can do is you can go to a banker, and as you're trying to build wealth, you may talk to them, get a relationship with them and say, listen, yeah, I know my credit history is bad. I know it's bad. But listen, I'm coming to you and I want to know, in the future, I would like to build wealth. What are you looking for? And they will tell you, and you're already starting to build that relationship, and now they see you here at this credit score with this credit history, and then they see you start working your way up. And then as you work your way up, and now you finally get to the level, generally 700 credit score, when you get to that and they've seen that you've worked really hard and you've had a good relationship, they are probably now going to give you that loan, because remember, they want to give you that loan. Very important. A good credit score, generally above 700. Now, a lot of people everybody has a credit score that has debt. Okay? Now, there are some people that follow the Dave Ramsey method. And if you follow the Dave Ramsey method and you pay everything off and you tear up those credit cards and you have no debt at all, you will literally, after just a little while, have a 0 credit score. Now, that's fine if that's the way you're going to live. But if you are going to try to build wealth by going to the bank to get a loan, a 0 credit score will not help you when you go get that loan from the bank. So you have got to figure out very early on, when you're going to build wealth, how are you going to do it? If you're going to do it the Dave Ramsey method and get a 0 credit score, you're not going to get a loan from a bank. But if you're going to get loans from the bank, you need to look at your credit history and your credit score. Again, they're going to look about a 700 credit score or above. Okay? Now, have a good relationship with the bankers. Okay? Don't look at them as guys that are mean, that are cruel. They're just trying to keep the money for themselves. Nothing could be further from the truth. They want to loan you that money. That's how they make money. When they loan you that money, again, you're going to pay that back with interest. They're going to make money. That's how they operate their bank. That's how they pay their employees. That's how they make money, is by loaning you money. They want to give you that loan. So if you have a good relationship, and you think about it, if you were that banker, would you want to loan money to a jerk? Would you want to loan money to somebody that comes in and he was hard to get along with, hard to talk to? It's just one of those guys, when you see him coming, you just wish you could go the other way. No, neither do the bankers. They want to know that when you come through that door, you can be somebody that they want to see. They want to know that you want to see them. Be genuine. Have a good relationship with those bankers. Okay? Very important. Be prepared. Now, when you go in to get a loan, you need to know a little bit about what you're talking about. If you're trying to get a duplex or a single family home, generally called a SFH, a single family home, you need to know, okay, in this area, here's generally about the price of a single family home, or the price on single family homes. Pretty crazy. Sometimes some prices are way down here and some up here, even for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. The prices can vary a lot, but you need to know that. You need to know about what interest rates banks have right now at this time. You need to know how many years you want to amortize that loan, how many years you want to take to pay it off. You need to know when you go in, hey, here's how I'm going to buy this property. If you will put up 80%, banker, I'll put down 20%. And here's what I'm going to do to fix this property up. And here's what I'm going to do to raise rents. Here's what I'm going to do. Have a plan. Don't go in there and every time they ask you a question, say, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know how the property is going to get fixed up. I don't know how I'm going to raise rents. I don't know what kind of tenant I'm going to get, or if I'm going to get a tenant. If you're not prepared, that's really going to reflect bad on you. So you need to be prepared when you go in to talk to these bankers. Very important. And this one, very important. Be on time. When I'm meeting people, I try to be on time. I expect them to be on time. Very important. Now, I have a saying, generally when I go to meetings, that's not every meeting, but if it's a meeting that has some real importance to it, I say this. If I am 10 minutes early, I am 5 minutes too late. That means I need to be there 15 minutes early. Okay, very important. If you're 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes too late. Be on time. Don't only be on time, be ahead of schedule. Let them know this is important to me. This is not just something that I'm going to do just on the fly, but this is important to me. I really want this, and I'm going to show you by how I present myself. I'm knowledgeable about the situation. My credit score is good, my credit history. I'm going to present myself well. I'm going to be very respectful of you, of your bank, but I'm going to be on time also. Very important. Very important. Now, we're talking about getting a loan from a bank. Something that everybody needs to know. Now, I know that the average person doesn't study the whole monetary system. That to a lot of people, it's foreign. But when you study it, there is something called macroeconomics. That means you study the whole picture of money. How money started, where it comes from, how does it get started from the Federal Reserve to the federal government, to the primary banks that you and I borrow money from. How does it get out into what's called the real economy? How does money work? How do you leverage money and take money from this property to buy other property? How does that work? Now, when you're studying all of that, there is something that's going to be introduced very soon on the public. They've been talking about it now in macroeconomics, and if you listen to several people on YouTube videos, specifically George Gammon, Jeff Snyder, Mark Moss, Mike Maloney, Hugh Hendry, just gads of others, Jason Hartman, Ken McElroy, a lot of these people, Robert Kiyosaki, there's just so many of these guys that are talking about something that's going to be coming and going to be introduced real soon. It's called the CBDC. Now, a lot of times in macroeconomics, there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of abbreviations, a lot of initials. Don't get discouraged. You really got to study this stuff a long time before they all start making sense or before you understand them all. But let me go over what a CBDC is. It's a central bank digital currency. Now, as you and I generally, we may go to the store, and if we were just buying a candy bar, rather than put that on a credit card, we may take cash out of our wallet and pay for that candy bar. Maybe it's $2. We take two $1 bills, we pay for that candy bar. Maybe we get something else in the store and it's $5 and we take out a $5 bill and pay for that. Or if it's some change, maybe it's worth 50 cents, we take 2 quarters out of our pocket and pay for it. That's cash. In the future, at some point, and we don't know exactly when they're going to introduce all the CBDC and push us into a cashless system, but at some point they're going to, because they're going to introduce this in July of 2023. That's next month. Now, it's been coming for a long time. Now, how fast are they going to force us, and when are they going to do away with cash? Nobody knows. The Federal Reserve has not put out a paper on that. But they have said that the CBDC will be introduced in July of 2023. So the central bank digital currency is coming. Now, as George Gammon says, it may be more of a ledger system than actual digits. But the way you will transfer money at that point is you will have your smartphone and you will transfer, or a computer, and you can transfer from your accounts to other accounts, just like PayPal or some of these other avenues that you can go on your phone or your computer and transfer money. Now, the central bank digital currency, obviously, as the first 2 letters say, it comes and is generated from the central bank. Now, here's one thing I want you to really understand. If this thing comes out this year and they do decide to do away with cash, don't get upset. Don't get excited. Don't go crazy. Let me tell you this, the CBDC is not the end of the world. Now, I know that there's probably going to be some religious groups that's going to be saying, oh, when we introduce this, it's going to be the end of the world, mark of the beast, all that kind of stuff. It's not. Don't worry. When they came out with the ATM, they said the same thing. And here's one of the things they said with the ATM. They said, ATM, kind of sounds like Adam. That's whatever. Now, what I want to tell you is the CBDC is not the end of the world. Is it something that I'm going to be thrilled about? Probably not. I'm the lowest tech guy on this planet. But I do have to realize this is coming. There is nothing I can do about it, nothing you can do about it, nothing anybody can do about it. It's coming. So familiarize yourself with it, because when you go to the bank to get a loan, in the future, this is what you're going to be dealing with. Now, this is very important. A CBDC is merely the next phase in our monetary system, but it is very similar to a BDC. Now, what is a BDC? Remember, I told you there's a lot of acronyms, a lot of initials, a lot of phraseology they use, a lot of times just to kind of make people think that they can't understand what bank people talk about. A BDC is a bank digital currency. Now, have you ever gone to a bank, maybe you bought a house or a car, and they transferred, you asked the bank for a loan, maybe it's $10,000 for a car, and they transferred that from some account and paid the dealership where you bought the car, and now you're going to pay the bank back that $10,000 with interest. But now that $10,000 they gave them, they didn't give them 10,000 $1 bills. It was bank digital currency. It was all on a computer. That was a bank digital currency. A central bank digital currency is very similar. Today, 92 or 93% of our money today is bank digital currency. Only about 7 or 8% of our monetary system right now is cash. The mass majority of our monetary system now is digital. So to go to this, going wholly digital, it's not that much of a stretch. Now, the reason I go over this with you is because it's coming. Don't think that you can't go to the bank. If you have a high credit score, if you have a good credit history, if you have a good credit score, have a good relationship with the bank, you can still get that loan. Okay, don't get upset just because we're going to a different system. It will be, as George Gammon usually says, it's going to be more of a ledger system. It will be very similar, and most people won't know it any different, the CBDC from the BDC that we are using now. Very similar. Now, why do I every now and then go over a video on getting a loan from the bank? Because that's very important. If you're going to build wealth, if you're going to have a portfolio of real estate, you are going to have to get a loan, especially if you're just starting out and you're wanting to be aggressive, you're wanting to pile up a bunch of real estate in your name. Probably 80-85% of that loan or that money to buy that from the seller is going to come from the bank. Get very good at following these rules. Now this is coming. Just familiarize yourself with it. Watch hundreds of videos on YouTube as I've done, and I've probably watched more than that, but nonetheless, familiarize yourself with the central bank digital currency. It's coming. Get used to it. Now, you can get a loan from a bank. Anybody can get a loan from the bank. Poise yourself right, position yourself right, and you can get that loan. You can become redneck rich. See you on the next video.